All right, so this morning before I left for work, I got a comment on my video from last night about how people, there are certain people in our society that don't have value as workers. And this really bothered me because I've thought about this my whole life that there's an entire segment of lower class people that corporations don't see as having any value for the corporation beyond the minimum wage. And these people all still need to buy the same things that people who have money need. Even though you have no value to the corporation, you still need a house, you still need a car, and for most people, they'd like some sort of relationship in their lives. And I think that by devaluing people who work in gas stations, warehouses, restaurants, all the jobs that refuse to pay living wages, that it's just not a way in which you should treat society. Because every person, and again, this is just me, but I think it's a basic human right to have shelter and to have housing. Now, as for transportation and entertainment, I mean, those don't have as much value, but they should be incorporated into the value. And by value, I mean how much we pay people. If you don't want to pay people anything, and then you get mad that there's so many poor people in our society, I don't know how to think about that because I can't wrap my head around a society in which there's so much poverty. When I go outside, I don't think I've ever been outside of my house in my entire life without seeing homeless people or seeing people that are on the verge of being homeless, one paycheck away. And you're surrounded by these people. In fact, today I had one of the girls that works in the building across from me. She actually stopped in to come over and visit with me because she's one of those people that's severely depressed. She wrote me several times today. She stopped by my office and she wrote me. She told me that the workers are depressed. And I told her the reason why workers can come back every day to jobs that will never amount to anything is because we're all depressed. We're all depressed by the wages. We're depressed by how we have to live. We're depressed by knowing that no matter what we do, we can't escape this. And what did this guy say in the comment? That people need to suffer a little bit. People need to give more of themselves so they can start their own business. Why is that always the solution? Why is starting your own business always the solution that people that right wing Republicans, ultra conservative Republicans, and libertarians have? They always want to tell everyone to start their own business, but just look around you at all the monopolies that surround us, where big business is the only business. You're not going to compete with Amazon running a business, or Google, or Intel, or Nike. You just don't. You're not going to build your own brand of shoes and think that you can go and compete in a market that's saturated with companies that will do anything to keep themselves from having to have you as their competition. I mean, I remember seeing this as a kid where Homer Simpson tried to start his own internet company and Bill Gates shows up and it's like and says the famous line, I didn't get rich by competing. I got rich by destroying other businesses. And that's the market that you face. Most people are not going to be able to run a successful business. The chances of you being successful in business are not good. And if you need proof of that, walk around in any shopping center right now. The list of businesses between my house and the two main cross streets, every business in that area is gone and has been shut down for years. The entire area behind my house has been shut down for years. It's just been an empty lot with offices. I think there's a church in there maybe, but the rest of that whole shopping area, it's been gone for so long that you don't think no one's going to rent there. Across the street, almost every business went out during COVID. It's hard to start your own business, and it's not the answer to treating people like crap because you don't think that they have any value. So that's my introductory monologue for today. And again, I am going to do a lot more stuff without scripts. Scripts are just definitely not for me. I need to be able to talk. Reading from a script feels like I'm some sort of news anchor and I'm reading off the teleprompter. That kind of video will never be my style. I tried it for a few videos. I'll probably end up taking them down because they're so terrible sounding because there's no thought in them. I like AI generated things, but AI is not funny, it's not creative, and it's just not for me. So, all right. First of all, before I get into my first talking point, again, I am beside myself with the amount of support that has come to the channel in the last 24 hours. I don't know where all of you guys have been, but I've missed doing my style of videos on this platform. I mean, it's only been about a month since I got demonetized and taken down by YouTube. But, coming back to seeing how many messages I've gotten in the comment section about you guys missing me, and believe me, I miss doing this. Going to my soul crushing corporate job every day is not fulfilling. In fact, it's the opposite of fulfilling. If I felt soul crushing pressure on me every single day before I lost my channel, I definitely felt it afterwards. I didn't know what I was going to do, and I tried to get my message out there in other ways, but it just wasn't working. So, without further ado, let's get into my 5 talking points. So, I am scraping them down to one sentence here because that's all that I can take. I just need something as a conversation starter in each talking point so that I can talk about this with my own voice. So, number one, fairness is subjective and doesn't factor into the market's calculation on fair wages. The market isn't there to make certain that you're okay. In fact, I would say that fair wages is an illusion. When a corporation is asked, do you want to pay your workers family wages, a living wage, anything but starvation wages, and they don't see the point. People who make those wages have no value. They're not the people who are in the executive class of people. The lowest level of worker is always seen as highly disposable and not people they want to be around. Any corporate person will tell you they don't like being around the ordinary workers. They consider them to be, for all intents and purposes, people who have slow minds. And the reason why they don't get paid very much money is because they're simple people. I'll tell you, my Gen Z worker's a simple person. Like, he gets excited about going home and eating dinner. He gets excited about the weekend. He gets excited about eating donuts in the morning. And these are the people that the higher ups think have no value. Without the people that you see have no value, you can't be rich. You need a large segment of society to exploit labor from. It doesn't mean you have to like them, but at least pay them enough so they're not starving and coming to work. Something I've seen throughout my entire life is people sitting in the break room at lunch with nothing to eat. And it becomes overwhelming to see how much poverty in a world that's created intentionally because the resources are there. Like I said to you guys a few weeks ago in a previous video, someone put this down in the comment section that Walmart makes $300,000 off of each of its minimum wage workers every year, while paying them between $15 and $30,000 a year. I mean, with profit like that, how do you justify it? I mean, I don't think there is a way other than putting them into a category in which their lives don't matter. Poor people lives don't matter. Proles don't matter. I have yet to see the proletariat rise up and say Pro lives matter. I don't think I'll ever see it. Talking point number two, the capitalist system. Your worth is determined by how replaceable you are and how much value you generate for the corporation. How much value you generate for the corporation. I think $300,000 of profit a year for the corporation is more than enough to say, you know what, we've got to treat workers better. We can't be a corporation that has a food drive for the very same people who work in the store. I think it's one of the most depressing things that I've ever seen is reading an article where Walmart had to have a food drive for the people that work inside the store. I'm not going to put up the news article here. Go Google it. But that happened. And I've seen it happen at my own workplace for students. The students are so poor, they have to keep, the worst kind of food, ramen or soup or, just beans that they have so that the students have something to eat. I mean, I have gone to school with some students that were wretchedly poor. Like, I remember, I think it was my third year of my psychology degree, and there was a girl that came in and sat next to me in the dead of winter, and she was wearing really cheap sandals, like a light t-shirt and some shorts. And I asked her, where's your jacket? Where are your shoes? And she just leaned into me and said, I can't afford those things. And I asked her, where's your textbook? And she said, I can't afford that either. And I'm like, what are you doing sitting in a classroom when you have no money? You can't afford clothes, you can't afford the textbook, but somehow someone's paying your tuition so you can still go to school. This is why so many people fail at education because they can't afford it. Even when you take out student loans, the rest of your education still costs you money. I'm buried in a student loan debt that I will never escape. And I had to spend all of my college years working a 40-hour work week while I went to school full time. For that reason alone, it wasn't enough money. They won't give you enough in order for you to cover food and rent. They'll pay your books, they'll pay your tuition, and the rest of it's up to you. And you know what that feels like? Having two full time jobs where one is more important than the other, and the other one's costing you your future earnings. Talking point number three has two parts to it. So, more specialized, rare skills, the more leverage you have in negotiating your wage. So, this is something that Gen Z doesn't get. Gen Z is young and is full of ideas and ways that the world should be more fair. But when it comes down to the job market, specialization in rare skills, along with years of experience, is what employers are looking for. The last thing they want to have to do is bring in a college educated person with no skills, no rare skills. So, what that means is that a job that has no skill cap whatsoever, like working at McDonald's or working for me, it's just if I can train you how to do your job in 3 days, that job has no special skills, therefore has no value. But I don't think we can measure the value of people that readily. Special skills are nice. And yes, those people, like if you're a brain surgeon, you should be getting paid a lot of money. But if you're bagging groceries at a Kroger's, it doesn't matter that you don't have great specialization. You're still a human at the end of the day. And I think that's the element that we're missing in our society is that the we only cherish one thing in our society, success. And we measure success in dollars. And when a person isn't financially successful, they're a loser in every part of being a human being. In fact, I would say that the poorer you are, the more likely you have to get your human card revoked. Our feral Americans out there right now have had their human card revoked. They're feral, they're out there, and no one wants to take care of them. We take better care of stray dogs than we do of stray human beings. Why? because they have no value. Being easily replaceable diminishes your negotiating power and keeps wages low. Diminishes your negotiation power. This is something that some people, even at the bottom, this is a discussion I've had to have with a person who's currently working at a call center and doesn't like it. She reapplied for a different call center about 10 days ago. And she said to me, it's like, should I ask for what I was making when I left that call center? Or should I just accept the entry level wage that they give to everyone? And I thought, you don't have any negotiating power because it's a low level position. Sales, any entry level sales job doesn't have any negotiating power. And that's why those wages are super low. And that's why these people don't stick around. That's why the loyalty isn't there. And that's something that a person that's going to tell you that you have no value in the market at the same time is going to ask you why you aren't more grateful for a job that doesn't pay you anything. That's another point that really agitates me because these corporations act like they're giving you the world. Like by providing you employment, they're giving you this great gift. The gift to be poor. That's really what it comes down to. They're giving you the ability to stay in poverty for the rest of your life and then pointing at you for being a loser. I felt that. I've been called worse in low level positions. I've been asked why I can't do better. And I just look at them. It's like, if you keep telling me that I need to get a better job, at least have the decency to follow that up with what do you mean? Where's this other better job? Because I've been looking for those better jobs my whole life. And at my level, they simply don't exist. Good jobs typically are offered to people. Bad jobs, well, they're everywhere. And if you're not careful or if you're unlucky, you can stay in a bad job with a boss that tells you every day how replaceable you are. And that to me is almost a torture in and of itself. So let's see here. Education saturation and wage decline. Every time I hear education saturation, I think of the technology field. 20 years ago, there isn't a person alive who wouldn't have told you that going into computers was going to be the best move of your entire career. And now we have millions of people all with the same skills, all having those certs, all having some entry level IT experience. But what's different between now and then is that 20 years ago, computer jobs actually paid you a living wage. You could actually make a life for yourself with the job that I currently have. You could have bought a house, you could have gotten married, you could have bought a boat, bought a giant truck, all because the that type of education was rare. But as more and more people tried to reach for the same piece of fruit, suddenly you have education saturation in the field, and now wages are just above the minimum wage. When I asked my Gen Z worker, about his work history, it's all $2 to $3 above the minimum wage, all entry help desk type of work. And that's just what it was. It's they didn't take into consideration how many other people thought, well, I'm just going to get into computers and I'm going to be okay. No. And I think a lot of it really started with places like DeVry and ITT Tech and any other online technology school that offered people the basic skills and made it seem like they were just in demand. I remember seeing the commercials for these schools when I was a kid and thinking to myself, wow, that looks so futuristic. And I want to be like that guy who's successful in the commercial. Well, most people weren't successful, especially now. All right, final talking point. Wages aren't just a reflection of your personal value. That's something I go to sleep thinking about every night. Wages are a reflection of your personal value. If you can't do anything special, if you're pushing shopping carts out of Kroger's, if you're bagging groceries or you're working in a warehouse or you're stocking shelves, you that reflects badly on you. To me, it hurts your self-esteem to know that what you do and what you make is a reflection of your personal value. I think it's one of the worst things that you can do to a human being is label them with a big L on their forehead and offer them a MIC paycheck because it does hurt you. Because you know at that point that you're not going to get to live in that nice neighborhood, that you may never be able to afford to be in a relationship. A lot of doors get closed in your face when your wages reflect your personal value. And I think it's one of the stupidest things that we can tell people is that, well, you have this bad job, therefore you're a bad person and you're a loser. And you have people out there who will tell those people it sucks to suck, right? People will tell you that poverty is a choice. I mean, the first time I heard that from a libertarian that poverty was a choice, I didn't know how to react to that. How can anyone other than a Fox News anchor really believe that poverty is a choice? Everyone's trying to do better somehow. Some of us just don't have the aptitude to do higher level work. And the punishment for not having the aptitude to get a better job is lifelong poverty and hunger and homelessness and possibly substance abuse because that's what you do. That's how you escape from knowing that you can't do anything to get out of the way of poverty. And in toxic positivity, I put just the word value in there while I was writing this and thinking about what I was going to say. Do you have no value? Then, if you have no value, then what's the point? Human cattle for economic, personal failure. I mean, that says it in a nutshell. Human cattle. If you can put 100 million people into the category of having no value, why should they exist? Why is Susie Rottencrotch out there behind the Taco Bell making all of these people that have no value? Because she doesn't care. She doesn't think about what she's doing. I know my mom didn't think. It's like, well, if I have millennial steam and he has no value, he's going to spend his entire life as a poor person on the verge of becoming homeless. No one ever thinks that because every person, every parent thinks that their kid's going to be special, that there's something special about their child in which they're going to become a self-made millionaire. And then when they don't, they question your aptitude, whether or not it's your own fault that you didn't try hard enough. Because this country has a real, what, for people who they deem didn't try hard enough. For all those people that kept shooting at the basket and just never made it. It bounced off the rim or it was way out here, but they never managed to get it in. And blaming people for what was inevitable. When you come from a broken home, when you come from a family that doesn't know how to save money or use money or get a good job, like when your whole family, when you come from a family of losers and then you become a loser, it's like your family just puts their hands up in the air. It's like, what? You went to college. Shouldn't you have a better shot at getting it into the basket? No. Because what did I say? Education saturation. When everyone has a college degree, then what's the point in hiring someone that has, let's say for me, a liberal arts degree? What special skills do I bring to a job? Absolutely none. And therefore, our value is decreased almost to the negative, where we're going to have to spend our lives living in places where we don't want to live, driving the cars we don't like, hanging around with the rest of the proletariat, which is poor as well. And this is our life. There's no way of us deciding to wake up tomorrow and saying to ourselves, you know what? I'm not going to be poor anymore. Today, today's the last day I'm going to stop. Today's the last day I'm going to keep thinking like a poor person. Today, I'm going to start thinking like a rich person while you're driving your Promobile to Taco Bell to work. and then hoping that after your shift at Taco Bell that Susie's out back waiting for you. And that's your life. And that's all. I don't know what else I can say other than, we were all set up to fail.